Hi, my name is Mihn, and I am doing my presentation on gun control. I'd like to start with stating my major premise, which is a ban on assault rifles would fail to have a positive effect in America. My three sub-premises are: 1, guns are tools to kill, but they are certainly not the only tools. 2, banning assault rifles is ineffective and has no real effect of decreasing gun violence. And 3, a ban would cause more harm to citizens than it would help them in the long run. Many politicians would like to reinstate or even create a new ban on assault rifles that would be more restrictive and overall harmful to the American people. Now, before we dive too deep, I'd like to state some definitions so everyone's on the same page. An automatic gun is a firearm designed to feed cartridges, fire them, eject their empty cases, and repeat the cycle as long as the trigger is depressed and cartridges remain in the feed system. Examples of these weapons would consist of such things as machine guns, submachine guns, selective fire rifles, including assault rifles. Also, just to let you know that it is very hard to get an automatic weapon. You need a Class 3 license, which very few people have access to. Roughly 15 to 10% even are capable of getting one. Also, for those of you who don't know, a cartridge is a single round of ammunition. From there, we go on to what a semi-automatic gun is, which is a firearm designed to fire a single cartridge, inject the empty case, and reload the chamber each time the trigger is pulled. The main definition that we will be discussing is the assault rifle, and by the U.S. Army definition, a selective fire rifle for a cartridge or intermediate power, applied to a semi-automatic firearm regardless of its cosmetic similarity to a true assault rifle, the term is incorrect. Now, jumping back into my sub-premises, we'll be going over number 1, which is guns may be used to kill, but they are certainly not the only tools. In a 2011 census done by the FBI, it is stated that assault rifles attribute to 323 people, while sharp objects like knives kill up to 1,694 deaths a year. And that is of 2011. Now, this goes to show that objects like knives will kill way more than assault rifles. Should we also ban knives? No, that's preposterous. Why would we ever do that? The total deaths attributed to guns, unfortunately, is 12,664, but not all guns is our focus on this subject matter. It is on assault rifles, which only attributed, again, 323 deaths as of 2011. For that specific year. Even according to the U.S. Census Bureau, states that 35,900 people died from car-related incidents. So why would we ban assault rifles that kill way less than that? Also, another census done by the FBI stated that 720 deaths were attributed to personal weapons, which are your hands, feet, hand, and even pushing people. All of these statistical data shows that assault rifles are one of the least causes of deaths in America. When people want to hurt or kill someone, they will use whatever means they have. Even 75 people died from fire used as a murder weapon, which just goes to show that people are willing to do to kill others. All this data can be found on the FBI's website, as well as the U.S. Census Bureau. Now, my second sub-premise is banning assault rifles is ineffective and has no real large effect of decreasing gun violence. During the 10-year assault ban that was instituted in 1994 and signed in by Bill Clinton, the Associated Press had multiple interviews with gun owners and salesmen. One had stated that the civilian version of the gun, the Colt AR-15, AR standing for assault rifle, was manufactured before 1994, and he simply stated that it could be sold easily as last week and the week as of next. That shows that ban on assault rifle was ineffective. Another had stated that there were loopholes that allow manufacturers to keep many weapons on the market by simply changing their names or even features of the guns. Now, to go on, the ban on assault rifles was to curb gun violence and decrease gun deaths. There was a study in the American Journal of Public Health, which had Michael Segal, who has an MD and MPH, Craig S. Ross, who has an MBA, Charles King III, who has a PhD and a JD, did a study where they stated 3.4 per 100,000 in 2001 to 2010 died from gun-related instances. Now those are people who are gun owners, who are registered, and have done all the paperwork to get those guns. These are not gun-related instances from gangs or illegal use of guns. Granted that they are terrible, it is not where most deaths occurring, and those who are registered gun owners are usually not the ones going out and killing others. Ever since the ban on assault rifles was lifted, there was a steady decline of deaths, which can be observed by the FBI's homicide graph from their website. Now, my third premise is that a ban would cause more harm to its citizens than would help them, and an example of this would be from the Chicago Tribune, where a man named Ari Friedman had challenged a ban on guns in suburbs. Chicago has one of the highest gun violence rates in America, and this ban was trying to curb that. Highland Park resident had until December 14th to remove assault weapons from city limits permanently, modify them so they do not fall under the law's definition, or surrender them to the police for disposal. Violations are considered a misdemeanor, which penalties that could include up to 6 months in jail or a fine of $500 to $1,000. This ban would cost a multitude of gun owners thousands of dollars to turn in their weapons, because most guns are not very cheap, especially if you have modifications to them. Since I am out of time, I will not be going over my second example, but to conclude, with another ban on assault rifles on the horizon, you are now able to see that it would be ineffective for the American public, and I hope that the evidence provided to you today has convinced you to stand with me against the ban on another ban on assault rifles. Thank you very much.
Right, well, you clearly state the main proposition. The phrasing on the secondary claims is awkward, but they are distinctly listed. You spent a lot of time in the first part of the speech defining the different kinds of weapons, and I think that 2 minutes needs to be condensed down to about 20 or 30 seconds, because most of that never becomes relevant. Nobody is worried about getting machine guns or automatic weapons. None of the bans that you're talking about apply to that. I don't think anybody's going to be confused on that issue, so spending time trying to distinguish those things doesn't really help you, especially since you're arguing that the previous assault weapons ban failed and there's no reason to believe that the new one is going to be any more effective. That's essentially what your argument is. Those, I think, would probably be the secondary claims that would make the most sense and keep it relatively simple. You spend a lot of time describing some things that just seem complicated. Your second and your third claims, for instance, I'm not even sure that they are making inferences. They sound like they're describing, especially the third one, a series of random events about gun legislation that doesn't help us reach any conclusion about gun registration or gun restrictions, bans on assault weapons. I got that one statistic that you gave us in the speech that says that there's 3.4 deaths per 100,000, and I'm still not sure. Is that supposed to be a good thing or a bad thing? Is that high or low? You said that's of gun owners, not of other people. It's not gangs. And I'm going, well, so why is it there? Why do we have that statistic? What inference am I supposed to draw from the information? And I think that you're not always focusing on the conclusions that you want us to believe. It seems like it's more just a random description of information. Like I said, you've got a simple argument here. A new gun ban would fail. The basis of my belief in that is that the old gun ban was largely ineffective, and that a new gun ban would have even greater restrictions or problems implementing something like that. And that's the simple way of expressing the argument, and you're all kind of all over the place on those issues. I did think that you had some good information in the presentation. You're pretty consistent about citing the sources. Like I said, I think you try to also speak to the audience and build a little bit of credibility there, but sometimes you get tied up in the minutia, and I'm not sure that it's helping you all that much. All right, thank you.